Hello and welcome to SkaredCast. Today another tactical video, the fifth in the series, where we will be discussing the role and use of the Heamonculi within the Dark Eldar army. So make sure you stay tuned and let's get started. Hello and welcome to this tactical video. We're discussing the new Dark Eldar release, and this is video number 5, where we will be talking about the use of the Heamonculi within the Dark Eldar Codex. Now this is use of the Heamonculi within the basic codex, but I will be doing an expanded Tactica on the use of the Coven army once the Coven supplement is released, so make sure you stay tuned. After all, if you look at my playlists, you'll see an entire series of battle reports using Urien Rakarth as the center of a carnival of pain with the old release. Now, of course, this book is fantastic, and this video will be in two different parts. The first will touch on the Heamonculi for any starter within the Dark City, and the second will talk more about the deep ways of using the Heamonculi within the book for any veteran. So let's begin, shall we? The Homunculus. Ancient and horrific, the Heamonculi are deranged flesh sculptors that dwell in the dark bowels of Comora. They are master torturers and expert poisoners, dark alchemists who revel in every nuance of the suffering they inflict upon others. To while away the centuries, the Heamonculi craft long symphonies of agony. From those unfortunates held captive in their dungeons. So horrific are their practices that they are feared by all denizens of the Dark City, even the most powerful archons and succubi. Over the millennia, each homunculus tastes have become increasingly twisted. Very specific. Having transcended common notions of wealth, they prize unusual ingredients for their alchemical elixirs. The distilled heart of Arbite's judge may yield a striking flavour of pure resolve, whereas the essence of a once proud planetary governor gives a tang of vain glory that thrills on their black tongues. In battle, the Heamonculi orchestrate the carnage around them with the passion of an artist or a puppet master. They use extreme and terrible wargear, able to cause uncontrollable growth with a single touch, or turn their foes to glass in an instant. A Heamonculus drifts across the field of battle with a macabre elegance, gifting those too slow to escape with an unimaginable, painful death. The Heamonculi are quite flavourful in Dark Eldar lore. I highly recommend a series of books, totally unrelated to this, called it's the Path of the Renegade, the Path of the Incubus, and the Path of the Archon, and then 4 short stories that are added on, kind of like prequels to it, by Andy Chambers and the Black Library. If you are a big fan of the Dark City and you want to know more about Homunculi, because they do touch a lot about like what they do and the crazy inventions and stuff like that, it's really cool. So I highly recommend it. Completely done with that side note. So, as a new player, what should you know about the Heamonculus? Well, by Dark Eldar standards, these guys are tough. They're tougher than tough. They're really, really tough. Because they have a toughness 4. Okay. They are weapon skill, ballistic skill 5. They are strength of a regular human, so 3. And they are toughness 4, so superhuman toughness. They have 3 wounds, like any other character in most HQ slots. They do have a low initiative, by Dark Eldar standards, of 5. And 3 attacks. So not as many attacks as, say, a Succubus or an Archon, but decent number. With a almost perfect leadership of 9. And Gnarl skin armor, which is a 6+, say, kind of like a witch suit. So, looking at this and looking at the stat line, why would you ever want to take a Heamonculi over, say, an Archon or a Succubus that can just go into combat and kill a bunch of stuff? Well, a Heamonculi is a master of pain. They buff the units around them. You can give them specific war gear that can be very specific to the task that you want them. Sort of like an Archon, but on a bit of a tougher frame without the ability to take a shadow field. If you think differently, let me know. So, as war gear, they have Gnarl skin, so 6+ save. They have a splinter pistol, so a poison 4+ pistol, AP5, and 2 close combat weapons. So, they have 4 attacks in close combat. Their special rules are base feel no pain, so, you know, they don't feel pain. Against strength 8 though, or higher, they feel pain, lots of pain. They are an independent character, they have night vision, so you can see the dark, and they do benefit from power from pain. I will be doing an entire video on the Dark Eldar special rules, and the different nuances of the special rules, so make sure you follow that, stay tuned for that. They have one special rule, it's called Master of Pain. So the model and his unit treat the current turn as being 1 higher than it actually is when determining the benefits from power from pain. Now this is cumulative with the agonizing, which is a special rule that the Dark Eldar can get in their special formations. I believe so. Or Architect of Agony. So Architect of Agony is the one they take in the special formation, and the agonizing is from the Animus Vitae. The Animus Vitae, which is like a special piece of war gear that you can take and you shoot it once, strength 4, AP 2, and if you cause an unsaved wound, the power from pain on the entire battlefield jumps up 1 turn, which is really cool. And then the Architect of Agony is with the special Dark Eldar formation. The Archon is the Warlord in the formation. The entire formation's power from pain is 1 up from what it usually is. So they start base turn 1 with a 6+ feel of pain, which is kind of cool. We'll get to that later. So, if you were to use a Heamonculi, it's really about the war gear that you give him to really give the flavour. He can get a webway portal, so I can see a Heamonculi being used specifically as a webway portal caddy. He's tough, he's relatively cheap, you don't really need to give him much, and then you give him a webway portal, stick him into a unit, deep strike anywhere on the battlefield, and he's not really that expensive. The extra toughness and the feel no pain really help, because, and I have experience with this, Dark Eldar with toughness 4 are really survivable. Like Rex and Heamonculi and, you know, Grotesque at toughness 5 and Talos at toughness 7. But anything that's higher than toughness 3, Reaver Jetbikes, they're also good. Really helps Dark Eldar survive, like quite a lot. When they benefit from feel no pain against strength 6 and 7, boom, their like survivability just jumps up that much higher. Now, as options, you can take items from the Weapons of Torture, which is like a Heamonculi Coven specific list. You can take Tools of Torment and active Artifacts of Cruelty. So there's a couple of cool pieces of gear in there, as well as a Crucible of Malediction and Webway Portal. So now we'll be discussing more for you veterans, and really discussing the nuances of the different war gear choices within the use of a Heamonculi itself. Okay, so let's go to the weapons of torture, because there's quite a few that are quite interesting, and I really like the way that they've kind of geared the different... There's like a hierarchy of Wargear in the Dark Eldar book, and I really like this cut and dry rock paper scissors style of doing things, because in Dark Eldar society it's exactly like that. When you read the books and stuff, you know, you start getting into the fluff and things like that as well. So the weapons of torture are things like a mind phase gauntlet, a flesh gauntlet, a scissor hand. They cannot take a venom blade, sad face, an electrocorrosive whip, which they can't take anyway, and an agonizer. The tools of torment are a stinger pistol, a hex rifle. They can take a liquefy gun, as always. Then they can also take the artifacts of cruelty. So, you know, you can take things like the Parasite's Kiss, so the Armour of Misery, or the Animus Vitae, which is the one I was telling you about, that increases the power from pain, or an Archangel of Pain, or the Helm of Spite, or even a Dijon Blade. They can even take a Dijon Blade, like a really cool power weapon that gives them a bunch of attacks. So that can be kind of cool. They're all ranging between 5, and I think the most expensive thing is 30 points. Well, 35 for the Webway portal. So you're not looking at spending too much on a homunculus. So, to be honest, I can't ignore half the stuff in that list, because I don't think it's really that good or worth the points, really. I think the key to using a homunculus is keeping him cheap, and using him to either deliver Webway portal, or as a cheap warlord that's tougher, so he's going to be harder to kill, or as a weapon, in this case a Webway portal delivery system, which he was still useful before. You know, you could give him, you know, just a homunculus and then Webway portal, and that was it. And it's not that much of a difference than it was before. So, you know, it's kind of like the old homunculus and the new homunculus kind of meshed together, and it's they're pretty decent. You know, it's not bad at all. And so the biggest thing, though, is make sure that you remember that homunculi don't have fleet, and they no longer give feel no pains or automatically to the unit they were. Well, they do, but it's a 6-up turn 1 and then a 5 and a regular feel no pain turn 2. So they still do it thanks to their you know, Master of Pain special rule, which is a little bit different than it was before, but the effect over the course of the game is pretty much the same. And it's important to remember that if you're going to put him in a unit of witches, if you're going to put him like in a unit of incubi, just you might want to detach him before you charge, so you can use fleet. But then you lose the Master of Pain, and their power from pain will not be a turn high, because he has to be with the squad to take advantage, which is a bit of a detriment in my opinion. You used to be able to leave a pain token with the unit and kind of detach the 2 units before charging, so that you get the most out of the pain token. But regardless of that, I think he's still got a place. Now, I think we'll be seeing more of the homunculi within the Coven supplement. So I will touch a little bit more about their specifics in terms of their own power from pain chart, in terms of their own different Wargear and Warlord traits, and things like that as well. So, you know, make sure that you know, keep track of that. And if you are going to equip your homunculus, tried and true homunculus Wargear has been a liquefy gun and a Webway portal. I've used that before to good effect. You know, now you can just deep strike within 3 inches and put a liquefier down and toast a bunch of stuff with a liquefy gun. He can be attached to a unit of grotesques with liquefiers and bring them in and burn a bunch of guys down. You know, while making them have leadership 9. He can be attached to a unit of Blasterborn and make them important with their blast pistol. And then the other cool Wargear that you can get. Now I'm going to kind of go over these a little bit, simply because some of them are fun, and you know, some of them can really find different things to use them depending on the opponent that you're going to, you know, like, that you're going to fight against. Okay, so first of all, of course, the Animus Vitae, right? The agonizing. You can use that to increase power pain. It's relatively cheap. You can use it. It's like a hit or miss item. You either do it or you don't. But I think it's worth the try every time. You can give him an armor, the Armor of Misery, right? Ghost Plate armor. Why not? Give him a 4+ save, and everybody within 6 inches has a -2 leadership, and he gets an invul save. It's like one of the only ways to give him an invul save, so why not? The Helm of Spite's pretty cool, you know, Adamantium Will, if you're trying to go like anti-psyker, that sort of thing. And the Parasite's Kiss, if you want him to come back from wounds, you know, that sort of thing. If you want him to be combat-y, which you could, but I don't see why you'd want to, Dijin Blade maybe for an extra couple of attacks. You know, you'd only have 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 7 on the charge, no, 6 on the charge, something like that. But not something I would recommend directly. Okay. Now, the Crucible of Malediction is another thing that he can have, which is once per game, Crucible Malediction can unleash its contents. It is a unit that includes one or more Psykers or Brotherhood of Psykers, friend or foe, so within 3d6 inches, suffers a strength 6 hit with no saves of any kind allowed at all. So it's kind of cool, especially if you have him on a web whip, you can drop him down, Crucible Malediction, try and knock a couple of wounds off like a couple of Psykers, or kill like key units in a Brotherhood Psyker unit, or if you're Psychic Pilot, like a Dreadnought or something that's a Librarian, do a strength 6 hit that could damage it. You know, that sort of thing. So that's kind of cool. And other than that, you know, that's it really. You know, give him an Agonizer if you really want to. You know, at least that's kind of cool. Poison 4+, AP3 if you just want like a generic armor-piercing weapon in close combat. That's what I would recommend. And I think we'll see, like, the value that you get in a Homunculus will be more for the tactical flexibility. But if you really want a tough character in terms of Hemonculi and Coven units, I would highly consider Urien Rakarth, which is the Master Homunculus, and I'll touch on him on the next video. Well, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you're appreciating this tactical video, these series. Make sure you check the other ones. I've done the Archon, the Succubus, a bunch of others. So check them out in the channel. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you want to share it, that's fantastic. Leave a comment. Let me know how I can improve. And I'm really happy you guys are liking it. This is Skari, your grateful host, signing out from this creepy, creepy topic.